Hi guys, welcome to the South African Film Festival Australia and New Zealand. I'm absolutely delighted to meet with you, Inez and Ian and Irshaad. And the film has been absolutely impressive. I think for me, one of the things that really stood out about the film was the energy, the pace. And I have
Yeah,
to say, and I actually literally get goosebumps saying it, I felt the film had an incredible music score. It had an incredible everything was just outstanding. Locations, the music score, the editing. I thought Ava did an amazing job with the editing. So I don't know how
yeah,
you picked this amazing crew, Ian, but and I think the most outstanding thing is the casting. I think each role was so
yeah.
impactful. I think this just puts just South African cast filmmaking absolutely on the global map. And how has this rolled out for you guys? Because I think the quality of this film is absolutely outstanding.
Well, thank you. It's actually great what's been happening. We um we opened in Toronto, as you know, and then we went on release in South Africa on Amazon, and now it's on ETV.
Mm.
And the international rollout has taken somewhat longer, which you
Okay,
sort of get impatient with. But for example, we now have we're releasing in the United States theatrically in July.
fabulous.
So and to crack that at all, I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm very
Yeah.
excited, even though it's taken 2 years to get people to say, all right, you can put someone down in a seat in America somewhere and watch this film. It's great that it's now happened. And I suppose
Yeah.
taking 2 years to get the word out on an ostensibly, well, by American standards, low budget film. Well, that was actually quite high by South African standards.
I totally agree with you.
Um,
And I think
yeah.
if
So
it is low budget, Ian, I think you're giving the high budgets a run for their money, quite frankly.
cool. No, well, that's good. That's what we tried to do. And it's something that you can do in South Africa because we happen to have an incredibly trained group of cast now, because there's been so much international filming in South Africa
Hmm.
that all our cast have done a lot of work. So they've really honed their skills. Um, I would say, if I sort of say the South African film industry 20 years ago, there were a couple of strong actors and then a lot of not so strong wannabes. We
Mm,
now have a huge amount of very good actors, and it's
absolutely.
it's fantastic to see. So if you're making a movie here, you can be very confident you're going to have good cast and good
Absolutely.
crew,
Absolutely.
and that makes a
I
big
just
difference to
want
the whole
to say,
industry.
if I can say something,
Please.
we have
Yeah,
great directors like Ian. So I want to just, this is the first thing I have to say. Sorry, my phone's being something weird. I mean, Ian, you said, how did Ian put together such a great cast and crew? The man's been doing this for so long,
Oh, we know
you
that.
know,
I know.
and still at it in a very, 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 very good way. So I mean, it's if you want to ask, we've got it. We've got to champion Ian for this.
You
He
sure
did
do.
quite a
Yeah.
good job, you know. And look at him; he's
thank
still
you,
busy,
thank you, Irshaad.
still pushing the film.
Yeah, yeah,
I could
That's a
have spent an
filmmaker,
hour.
you
I could
know.
have spent an hour
for sure.
just on
Very
Ian's.
grateful to have a guy like Ian.
I could have spent an hour just
Thanks.
on Ian's the biography and background and his film
Yeah,
credit.
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely, an absolute master. And both for you,
Okay.
Inez and Irshaad, how's it rolled over for your career since that film? I know we're going to hit big in America now. That's obviously going to take a whole nother aspect. But since Toronto, what's sort of been the feeling for you and the reactions to the film that you've had, either locally or internationally?
Irshaad,
A
want
lot
to
of
go
people.
first?
Go, yeah, go. Yeah.
No, you go.
You want me to go? Okay. Sorry, Liz. Listen, a lot of people have said to me that they want to see me in more such roles where I play like
Mm.
this. For me, it felt like a spy thriller almost, you know.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people say they want to see me in such roles. And so now I am looking for more of such roles. I'm trying to find more of such things, you know.
Yeah.
I generally play a guy from Cape Town, which is also what my character was, but I always play a gangster. I always play something, you know. And this was something different for me. And so yeah, I'm looking for more of such kind of roles. Yeah.
And you?
Yeah. I think for me, like working with Ian as well, very closely on creating this character, or like, I guess, bringing her to life in the way that we did, it kind of shifted my perspective on the kind of roles I'm after, or I guess on my abilities as an actor. Because Ian has a very good way of challenging you, quite considerably with a very nice, wonderful, caring tone. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for
Yeah,
me, was
yeah.
just pushing myself further and being more ambitious as an actor. And I think
Yeah.
it's kind of completely reshaped the way that I think about my job. So I think, I would say probably ambition. It's grown my ambition.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
great.
Well, I'm very pleased to hear Inez say that her scope as an actress and her ambition as an actress has grown, because she can confirm that when I cast her, when I said I was going to cast her, was in the casting session, and I apologized. I said, I'm really sorry that I'm actually going to cast you, because this is going to be such a grueling role. It's going to be painful. And when we did it, every time we shot with her, I was in quite a lot of pain myself, seeing how much pain I was putting her through. Emotional pain and also physical pain, because you had to run barefoot across rocky ground and do all kinds of terrible things that I would not ask my best friend to do, but I did ask my actress to do. That's the so
I almost want to
so
echo what Inez
it was
said.
tough. Yeah.
I said I almost want to echo what Inez said, because the first time working with Ian, he turned me into a believer. We worked together on another film, and he turned me into. It's the same thing, Inez. I'm looking at you right now. If the same thing happened to me, I felt like, what? He got so much out of me, Ian.
Yeah.
That I thought, I didn't know this was possible. And there was an allowance. It's like you says, he challenges you in a nice way, so you don't feel conflicted. You never feel conflicted being directed by Ian. It's almost like you're being challenged, but you're also being drawn in by it, and then more comes out.
Yeah.
And so when we did our first film together, I thought, my God, I didn't know I had that in me. And I told this guy brought it out of me, man. So So Ian is sorry, Ian, that we're doing this now.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful director. I'm so sorry.
I've paid everyone here to say what they're saying. It's great. You guys are doing fantastically. Thank you. I should have paid you less. I should have paid you less. I could have got more.
Yeah.
So I mean,
we should have paid you, I feel.
Oh man. So I think, looking at all the material and the interviews and all of that, yes, there's the political arena, there's the political message, there's the past, the present, as you say, the reconciliation. But I feel as though the film, I mean, as this kind of, you called it a spy thriller or an investigative political thriller, it has an incredible pace. And for me, even though it's very much set in South Africa and, in the wider scope in the African diaspora, but I felt as though this was such an international story that almost holds itself. It's in a kind of timeless story. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's definitely a universality to the story. I mean, it's a kind of film that I like to watch and want to see. So yes, I agree with you fully. This could be anywhere in the world. It needn't be South Africa. It could be anywhere in the world, and you would buy into the story. You would buy into these characters, and you'd want to know more, because it's the kind of story that makes you want to go, what's next? What's happening next? What's happening next? Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the story behind it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ian.
I was just going to say that a lot of the information that's in the film is actual, real information. We researched lots of cases, lots of information going on through Africa, and it wasn't just, stuff like the killing of the Saudi diplomat and stuff like that. It's all it's all based on real events.
Fantastic.
So we wanted to make it very.
But there's a lot of things that happened. The Robertson, but there's a whole lot of things that happened there. I mean, the Project Coast, which was this chemical and biological warfare program run by the South African apartheid regime. All of those happened. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So based on that, because that would have been an extraordinary amount of research. How long was the research period in this, Ian?
Well, we started. I would say that the writing and the research was happening simultaneously, and that took 3 or 4 years, which was actually not that long for the gestation of a film. But it was very intensive. We had several people researching, several people writing at the same time.
And considering the nature of the story, which I really loved, as you said in your quote, it's about, saluting and honoring the whistleblowers in the past, in the present, who are upholding, truth and accountability and justice. Was there any fear element in the making of this film? Were there some feathers that could still be ruffled? I know they often, we always say art tells a story, and through art we get to tell some pretty raw stories. Was there anything that you guys were sort of on the fringe of still ruffling some feathers here and there, or was it, what was that like?
I think we did rustle some feathers because there has been, over the past 15 years, a very poor record in South Africa of what has happened to whistleblowers. I think that we're getting beyond that in South Africa. I think that we are actually improving. And I think that one of the things about South Africa now is that you can ruffle feathers. You couldn't in the past. You couldn't ruffle. No one was ruffling anyone's feathers because they were either being banned or arrested or killed or whatever.
Yep.
So now we can rustle feathers, and I think that's great that South Africa has matured in that way. I think South Africans honoring truth tellers, I think, is one of the great things for any filmmaker to do, especially right now in the present, in the world as we have it, because there's a lot of suppression of truth all over the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the fact that South Africa has gone to the International Criminal Court and spoken about genocide, because genocide could have happened in South Africa. It didn't. And we now know, and we know we have a responsibility to speak out against anything that's leading towards that apartheid-style suppression of rights and genocide. So I'm very proud to be a South African and happy to ruffle feathers in the process.
It feels like it's our job to do that.
Yeah, it is. We've been.
It's our job.
We've got to make our own country better.
Yeah.
It's our job as South Africans, and I think also as filmmakers and stuff. So I think, that's the beauty when you see the program, the South African Film Festival program. It's exactly that. There's some amazing, even though it is a feature, and as you say, it's the ruffling of it. It's getting to think and get us to think differently, look at different perspectives, and I think that's. Being bold and telling these kinds of stories is amazing. Back to the actual filmmaking, I'm amazed at the stunts, and I loved looking at I'm a bit of a credit reader. My kids always hate me because I make them sit in every film and every cinema since they're young. They have to read the credits. And I love this good old-fashioned filmmaking, like you once said in another interview, and it's a good old-fashioned investigative story, and Knox's energy and the leading lady, and in fact a very strong female cast and very strong male characters. I mean, Irshaad, you were so likable and then so scary as well as your character shifted. And I think the power of all of that. I mean, were there any real difficult moments? I mean, what were some of the most challenging scenes? I think, well, we can't really give too much away for our viewers, but what were some of the greatest challenges in making this film for you guys as an actor?
Inez, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I have the
Inez got the top most difficult stuff.
You sure did.
I think I have the easiest response to this, partly because my character, I guess, has very few joyful moments. But without, I guess, spoiling anything, the challenge really was to stay in that sort of mindset of being at, I guess, one of the worst moments of this character's life. And at the same time, I knew very early on, Ian and I spoke about the fact that I had a very short amount of time to make the audience care about this character and care about her involvement in the rest of the story of the film. And I think thinking of her like a tiny seed for the greater story was really the root of my work. But I guess, making sure that I could sustain the intensity of the performance throughout was really, I think, my toughest challenge. But I guess that's also props to the entire team that we had around us, who were incredibly caring and tender about the way that they worked with me during those scenes, the way that they looked after me, and made sure that like my job was facilitated in the best possible way so that I could go absolutely all the way, like every single time. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It was hectic waking up the day after I wrapped and counting all the bruises and
Oh,
scratches and
no.
scrapes.
Yeah.
Could have paid
But
him
it
more,
was
Ian.
also, yeah, but it was also a moment of like opening my eyes and thinking like, we did that. Like it happened
Yeah.
and it was so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you?
I don't know. For me, I think it's always. I'm sorry, Ian. It's always easy to work with Ian. He has an ability to manage so much and make it look so easy, and then help you make it. It feels easy with him. But for me, I must be honest. I've been spoiled for all the films that I've ever done. Have always been in Cape Town, and I'm from Cape Town, so I'm a Cape Town boy. And shooting in Joburg was a little bit difficult because I'm married, and I think I'm a little spoiled. I'm married. I've got a wife and 2 children. I'm always used to having them around. There's the comfort of that. And I was in Joburg for about 6 weeks, I think, away from family. That was tough, and just being alone, which also helped for the character because created a kind of isolation. But I think that was the toughest thing. I think I've been spoiled working in Cape Town and being able to shoot at home, and I was away in Joburg, and that was a little bit more tough, yeah. But overall, everybody was great. Crew was great. Cast was great. Yeah. So yeah, that's about that. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that was
And
bad for me or
I
challenge
mean,
for me in the film.
none of you guys, I think everyone in the cast, you're in pretty hair-raising scenes a lot of times. I mean, this really is a fast action film. I mean, there was the energy throughout every single scene. Okay, poor Inez came away with bruises. I mean, did you guys do stunt training on this? I was just amazed. I mean, what you did to all your actors, you threw them in quite some extraordinary movements there, Ian.
I did do. We did have a stunt coordinator who was very good and who trained him quite a lot. So that helped. And they were there all the time and making sure everything was fine and safe and so on.
Yeah.
But
we're
there
also
was
South
some quite
African and we're
extreme
tough, We're also South African and we're just a bunch of tough people.
That is the best message.
We know how to take a hiding,
Yeah.
Guys, I just want to say this.
Yeah, we've been training for a while.
Yeah, I'm in studio right now, and they might just call me for a scene.
That's
I'm in
okay.
my dressing room. So if I'm so sorry, I might have to run away.
No.
Yeah.
I think we're going to, I think we've had it. You've answered some great questions. And I said, I think we've kind of touched on, I think there's been other interviews like, Ian, what made you decide to pick on this story, the actual origin? I can see your inspiration, but can you give me that moment where you had the thought of where did that pop into your head that this is the film I want to make? I'd love to know that little moment. What was it triggered by something in particular?
Well, there's more than one moment, I'm afraid. Sometime in the 80s, I had a girlfriend who also was the mother of my child, an Afrikaans girl who was maybe a little bit like Inez. And I wanted to tell a story about her. And we, in fact, did write a screenplay about her, and she dies in that film as well. And she actually, sadly, did die a few years later. So that was the one kernel of the idea. And then I put that story to sleep, and it was about apartheid and all that stuff. And we moved on from apartheid. So I thought, all right, I've moved on from apartheid. And then sometime, I think during COVID, I started thinking about that story again and thinking, well, what would have happened if all of that had happened and now we're in the present? And so that started triggering all the thoughts again about a death in the past. That fortunately, the truth of it was not that it was what happened to Inez, but a death in the past and how it can come back in the present and either haunt people or set people free. Because the story of Inez, or of Inez's character, is the story of a whole lot of stuff is set free by her, even though she's passed.
Yep.
And that's why it was so great for her to be such a powerful character, because she's kind of shouting at you from the grave, saying, "Just pay attention now."
Yes.
And one of the lines that our lead character had, he says, the reason why you have to deal with the past is so that the same sins don't happen again in the future.
Yes, I was going to bring that quote up. Exactly. Then bury the past. Yeah. That's fantastic.
You can't bury the past. You've got to deal with the past. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think there was that line, you know, you can't bury the past, or all these things just keep repeating themselves. And that's the only way to deal with it. So I think, and as you say, it's still so relevant to today. I mean, what's happening today is going to impact the future. So
yeah.
Guys, I just want to congratulate. I think it's an amazing film, and I hope that you really take those Americans by storm.
Amazing.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.